MTA, a gente vai de trem pra cima. Compramos aqui um bilhetinho pra ir pro downtown, a gente vai entrar aqui no trenzinho. A gente tá aqui no trem, a gente vai descer a paradinha chamada Washington. Estamos indo pro downtown. Você viu o que é ali? A gente vai fazer um tour com essa empresa, Chicago First Lady, aqui no Rio. Ai, que coisa linda! E a gente vai aproveitar, comer um negocinho aqui. Comer um hot dog. Então a gente já tá aqui, ó, comendo um hot dog. Diz o moço que era Chicago Style. De vista pro Rio. Então aqui, ó, esse é o barco que a gente vai fazer o tour. Já estamos entrando aqui, o Thiago já entrou na fila. Prontinhos para o nosso tour aqui no Chicago First Lady.
About our history, about our city, and I always like to begin with the name, Chicago. That is a Native American or indigenous word, Potawatomi to be exact, that means stinkweed, smelly onion, and that gives you an idea of what the land was like right here along Lake Michigan and our Chicago River several hundred years ago. Our river actually back then wasn't a river. It was a very shallow, swampy, narrow little stream with lots of stinkweed and smelly onion growing in it. In fact, that's very different from what we see before us right now. The city that we know of as Chicago got off to a pretty slow start. We did have some explorers come through the areas in the 1670s, Father Jacques Marquette, Louis Joliet.
Já temos aqui, ó, Apple Store.
The first building to take advantage of the new bridge in 1921. It was commissioned by William Wrigley, our chewing gum magnate. Now up ahead, we'll get another view of it as we come out from the Wabash Bridge. But there is a building with a 26-story base and those corner dome Tempe-Yeti. It has a 17-story dome tower on top. This building is from 1926. It's located at 35 East Wacker office building. But they were trying to encourage jewelers to move in to that office building. And so it's often called the Jewelers Building because it has it had, no longer has, did a wonderful job of creating distinct spaces between each of the bridges. We call each space between the bridges rooms. The room we are passing right now on our left is called the theater room. The theater room, you can see why it's called that. You have the steps that ease about the river, and you'll be able to hear me wherever you are on board, so not to worry. I talked about in my introduction the importance of treating the sewage before it went out into the lake was not going to solve the problem. So they thought and they thought and they consulted and consulted. And finally, what they decided had to be done was to turn the river around. Reverse the flow of the Chicago River. Instead of having it flow east into Lake Michigan on Lake Street, it takes you all the way to Oak Park, where you can see Freeway right. For this wonderful new structure, 55 stories, designed by Getch Partners, done a beautiful job of putting the building right along the river, creating this wonderful river walk between the two bridges. It is called the Bank of America building, not because they own it, but because Bank of America is the primary tenant. They take up 1/3 of the space. Just beyond the Washington Bridge, on our left, the building clad in limestone. The building has the shape of a large armchair. Those of you from the Midwest, from Chicago, may remember that name. Very important, successful department store business here for over a century. But they also had a wholesale operation. And in 1930, this building with 4 million square feet inside was to house their wholesale operation. They were going to use half the space, and then they were going to rent out the other half.
Gente, olha que coisa mais sensacional.
Oh my goodness, it looks so graceful at night. You can see the 3-stepped tower building. St. Regis, Chicago.
Gente, que
That
passeio
was designed by the
maravilhoso.
successor
Muito
firm
legal
companies, and it
mesmo.
looks,
Daí viemos jantar aqui, ó, num restaurante de tacos. Olha que legal o restaurante, um ambiente super legal e super gostoso, a gente adorou. O Thiago ama tacos. E o restaurante fica aqui, ó, do lado do Nutella. Foi assim que a gente descobriu ele. E ali no fundo dessa rua foi onde a gente fez o River Boat Tour. Gente, já pedi aqui o menu pra ir verificando como se funciona esse local. Então temos várias opções de doces e temos cold and hot beverages. Gente, olha que legal. Tem as coisinhas da loja. Babadouro. Babador. Copinhos de café. E aqui, ó, tem algumas opções dos pratos que eles têm.